apparently. I call the November 4th, 2015 special council meeting to order. Flag salute. Jane, can you lead that for us, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, we'll move right along. There are no minutes. Petitions, communications, citizens' requests. Unless your kids have something to say, I think we're all set. Okay. Reports, council president, none. Standing committees, city councilors, city attorney, special committees, school board liaison, city manager. Good. Consent agenda, public hearings, old business. We'll move on to new business. The city council will consider accepting the return of the votes cast of the November 3rd, 2014 regular municipal election. Councilor May.
Resolve the Old Town City Council hereby accepts the return of the votes cast of the November 3rd, 2015 regular municipal election as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Jan? Discussion?
Well, is there any confusion, you hear little things around town?
So, I'm going to let Patty, Bill, Patty, Eric, and myself have been in communication for at least over 24 hours, seems like. So I'll let Patty just quickly brief you on what transpired.
Well, I'm human. I made my first mistake on a ballot in 25 years.
Well, we'll forgive you.
And we found out yesterday, and so that's when it all transpired. So my understanding, that's why I was a little late coming up with Patty. My understanding is one of the candidates has put in a written request to have a recount of the votes. So Patty can quickly explain how that works from here.
So once the request is received, then I have so many days in order to call for the recount. What will happen is, I'll probably have it up here. I notify all candidates that were on that race and invite them. And all of the local ballots will be counted by hand. I can't do it until after next Tuesday.
On the ballot, though, they're just looking at the city council part. They're not looking at the RSU or the amendment. It's
Yeah.
strictly just
Yeah.
the names on the city council. So
Now,
it
who
shouldn't
will
be that
actually do the
long.
counting, you?
No, the election clerks will be doing it.
Okay.
I will oversee it, but I won't, if they have questions, I'm there to answer, but they will be doing the physical counting, and it will be done by hand. There's 37 votes difference, so there is no fees involved because it was less than 2.5%.
How many ballots went through the machine?
There was 990 ballots went through the machine and 2 that we had to count by hand.
Okay.
That didn't go through the machine.
Absentee ballots, or they go through the machine too?
The absentees do, and so I've got a couple things here. Because of state law in Title 21A, says you can't get into the incoming voter list for 5 business days after the election. So after Tuesday goes by, because Wednesday is a holiday, then I can open the incoming voter list.
Okay.
And, he's welcome. He can also just do an inspection instead of just going to the recount. Usually that comes into play if there's money involved. If the margin, the percentage of the difference of the ballots is over that 2.5%, then we can charge to do this. Because the margin is greater. And
Right.
Yeah.
so I've got that one issue, and then all my absentee envelopes and applications are in one of the state's blue ballot box containers. Because if the state had a recount, I would have to send that to Augusta. So I put it in the blue ballot container where it's locked. I have to request permission from them to get into it.
Okay.
In order to retrieve those. And again, that could be something, he could inspect.
Right.
There was 17 write-ins, 2 that were valid. So when a write-in occurs with the machine counts every race that's on that ballot except for the write-in. So all of the council, RSU board members, the referendum question, those are already tallied. So the only ones that we are concerned with is the write-in.
Okay.
So, and we get the typical Mickey Mouse and anyone who cares and stuff like that. So there were 2 valid write-in votes. And then we had 2 that were auxiliary ballots. One ballot had just Nuttall on there, and the other ballot had you and Otis
Yeah.
on that ballot. So all 3 of you gained another vote.
I see. And, you know, there's been a lot of communication going back and forth, and I know I've been confused about the state versus the city as far as the charter and all that stuff, how we pick the names, but I think we figured that out, that the city does supersede the state, I believe, correct, when it comes to putting, if
Because
we do it
it's a
to
city.
draw, because it's a city, we can do what we do, draw the names and put them on the ballot that way. We don't have to put them in alphabetical order.
The charter on the election section is very outdated. It does not address anything to do with machines. So I did talk to Eric the other day. I said, you know, maybe this winter we should sit down and go through this, you know, and get a lot of the sections so that they don't conflict
Right.
with Title 38, the state, you know, the state elections that govern towns.
Right.
Town elections, because it's difficult to keep up with. I got the charter, I got, you know,
State.
30A, I've got 21A, and like I said, sometimes they conflict,
Right.
you know, so then, you know, which one do I use?
Which one
takes
supersedes it, right,
precedence?
right.
You know, if there's something that comes up that's not in the charter, then I revert to the other 2. Which in the case of the recount, there is nothing in the charter that gives any direction or really says anything about a recount. So that's why I'm reverting to the other two laws. But we really need to clean that up, and I'm hoping if we can sit down this winter and have it on the June election,
Right.
you know, because there'll be several changes. A lot of it will be just housekeeping.
Yep.
We can get some of this clarified.
Good. All right.
Yeah, Eric pointed out, there's no case law yet for being in conflict with state law because no one's challenged that. But he said if at some point, sooner or later, someone's going to have an alphabetical, a drawing out of a hat, so to speak, and if they have an issue with that and it's in conflict with state law, then you're probably going to have a problem with that.
But there you go again.
That's
With-
it. That goes
there's a
back to this-
reason
that
it
goes
goes
back
back
to
to our
this.
charter, and, you know.
Goes back to
and
this
we
vote.
can. That's right. And they can challenge anything they want to, Bill.
Yep.
We know that.
Yep.
But it's in our charter is the first order of, that's what we go by first. So-
Except state law in that case says shall. You shall.
It shall, but yeah. But it did say you could draw, our charter says we can draw by lot, and that takes,
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
precedent.
You open yourself up when you do it that way, certainly.
Well,
because that's in
but
direct
we've already
conflict.
opened ourselves up once, so we're not afraid, right?
We're never
I mean,
afraid.
really, because, and I think there could be arguments made for both.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we are where we're at now, and so
Yep.
we're going to get past and move on. Sounds like you got a little bit more work to do next week, and then I don't believe that we would have to, hearing everything, that we would actually have to have another election. I don't see that, but you just never know at this point.
Right.
I don't see it. It sounds like there'd have to be really some legality.
As far as that issue, granted, when I got the proof back from the printers, I didn't catch that. I was looking for spelling, you know, I thought that it was 2 instead of 3, just didn't
Yeah.
even enter
Right.
my mind. You know, I was making sure all their names were spelled correctly. There is only one Otis Butler that is registered in the city of Old Town, just one. If there was more than one, then I could see it being a problem. And but there is only one.
Fine.
So it's up to him as to whether he wants to go forward with it.
Okay. All
But,
right.
but it also said in that you'd have to prove hardship and all of that, and you
What?
wouldn't, you'd have to justify.
You have to justify that the way that the ballot was set up and the way
that it affected the vote.
that affected the vote.
And that would be really tough to prove. I think it disproved it almost,
Big-
so,
Just from the order.
Yeah.
I mean, I instead of
Yeah.
being one, I went to two
yeah.
on the ballot sheet, so,
Mhm.
same
Yeah.
thing with the Irish.
You'd have to show that it somehow repressed your ability to vote for
vote,
the right
yeah.
candidate,
Mm.
and
Right.
that you couldn't
Yeah.
identify who you were voting for.
Right, and even
Oh.
on the RSU side, one of the candidates that won, went from 1 down to 3, and then they won. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it showed that the ballot didn't, the way it was set did not affect the outcome of the election.
Proves people listen and read.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
That's enlightening.
exactly,
Well, and she worked hard.
yes.
He was there from 7 a.m. to 7:30.
She
I-
worked hard.
I think that.
And
made
she's a
big
people
impression.
person,
Yep.
and,
Yeah.
and she put herself right out there, and good for her.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. She'll be good.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Anyways, I apologize.
Well, don't worry about it. Don't lose any
Mistakes
sleep.
happen.
did you do her eval yet?
He did.
You did? Boy, you got off easy. All right, okay. All right, she worked that one, all right. Okay, so no other discussion. All those in favor of accepting the votes? Opposed? None. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, 5-0. Okay, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Don't move.
So that would be Jan. Is there a second? Second. EJ. All those in favor? None opposed. 5-0. And the time is 4:45
to sign both of them?
PM.
Yes, please.